Each and every team wants to win MCC and they would do anything they can to do it. So today I wanted to look at the games they could choose to have the very best chance at victory. This is each and every MCC 32 team's path to success. But before we begin, let me know down below who you think will have the greatest success in this MCC. And whilst you're down there, make sure to check out the wonderful Aqua Dragon who wrote this amazing script, as well as the superb Debbie Moraz who edited this video. That's right, I'm not self-advertising here. Go and support the real heroes of this video instead. But anyway, enough time wasted. Let's start with the Red Rabbits. Red's best game is Sands of Time, where they're best in the event. The games they need to skip or hope get benched for this event are Survival Games and Rocket Speed Rush, and their best game order for coins based on their average is to get to the other side, Ace Race, Hole in the Wall, Meltdown, Battle Box, Grid Runners, Sky Battle, and finally Sands of Time, which would give them a score of 16,815 coins, and that puts them only in 6th. But that's not the game order that would give them the best team placement, as that is Hole in the Wall, Rocket Speed Rush, Parkour Warrior, Ace Race, Battle Box, Meltdown, Sands of Time, and finally Grid Runners, which would only give them a score of 16,714, but more importantly, puts them in 4th. I feel the stats are underrated in this team, with Antfrost being 2nd and Rambo being 9th in the Season 3 averages, so they'd probably do better than that. The Orange Ocelots. Orange's best games are Meltdown and Ace Race, where they're easily the best team in the event. The biggest game this team needs to skip is Rocket Speed Rush, and their best game order is Battle Box, Survival Games, Sky Battle, Hole in the Wall, Grid Runners, Sands of Time, Ace Race, and finally Meltdown, that would give them a score of 18,632 coins, which would put them first and 952 coins ahead of green. But because Orange is the favourite coming into this event, instead of trying to make the biggest gap between Orange and 2nd place, let's find out the game order that puts Orange in 10th, which would be crazy by the way. And that game order is Survival Games, To Get to the Other Side, Hole in the Wall, Sky Battle, Parkour Tag, Parkour Warrior, Rocket Speed Rush, and finally Battle Box, that gives them a score of 14,626 coins, which puts Orange in 10th by 27 coins. These stats, however, don't tell a full story for Orange, due to this being Orange Juice's first canon event, so I've decided to use his non-canon stats, which are probably a bit overinflated due to the less competitive nature of non-canon events. We'll find out the day of the tournament. The Yellow Yaks. Yellow's best game is Hole in the Wall, where they're almost 100 points ahead of the 2nd best team in the event's averages. Their worst game by far is Rocket Speed Rush, where their average is over 100 coins worse than their 2nd worst game of Meltdown. The best game order for this team is Ace Race, Survival Games, Battle Box, To Get to the Other Side, Sands of Time, Grid Runners, Sky Battle, and finally Hole in the Wall, that would net them 18,245 coins, putting them first by 321 coins over green. If Hole in the Wall is benched or skipped, it would become really hard for this team to make Dodgeball, as I could only find a few game orders that would let Yellow into Dodgeball without it. I once again don't think these stats give a fair look at this team's chances, as Ant Venom has been practicing a lot recently, and the stats don't really reflect that. The Lime Llamas. Lime is the best team at Parkour Tag in the event, but that's not the team's highest scoring game, as that is Sky Battle. Surprisingly, Lime's worst game is Parkour Warrior, even with Fruit on the team, which is probably because SB didn't have the best team in his only time playing it. The team's 2nd worst game is Meltdown, which makes sense for SB and Fruits' experience in the game. And the team's best game order is To Get to the Other Side, Grid Runners, Rocket Speed Rush, Battle Box, Survival Games, Sands of Time, Parkour Tag, and finally Sky Battle. This game order gives them a score of 18,206 coins, which puts them 572 coins ahead of green. But more interestingly, this game order puts green 881 coins ahead of Cyan in 3rd place. Talking of green, next up we have the Green Geckos. Now Green's best game is Sky Battle, but every PvP game, with the exception of Meltdown, is where they're the best team at, with Battlebox and Sky Battle. A big surprise in the stats is that Sands of Time is their second best game. I don't think the team will hold up to the last time we saw Sapnap and CPK team together when they came last in Sands of Time. Green's worst game is Rocket Spoof Rush, and I think we're seeing a trend here, which takes us on to Green's best game order, which is Meltdown, To Get to the Other Side, Hole in the Wall, Ace Race, Battlebox, Survival Games, Sands of Time, and finally Sky Battle, that would net them a score of 18,673 coins, the highest amount so far, putting them an insane 1,194 coins ahead of Lime. If this team makes it into Dodgeball, I believe they have the best shot at taking the victory. The Cyan Captains. Cyan is definitely the underdogs going into this event, being over 700 coins weaker than the second weakest team by Scott's method. Cyan's best game is Survival Games, and not only is this team the best at Survival Games in the event, but it's the highest average of an active game in the event at 1,381 coins. Whilst this is great, the reverse is true about their Rocket Spoof Rush average, with it being the worst average in an active game in the event. Their best game order is To Get to the Other Side, Sky Battle, Grid Runners, Meltdown, Battlebox, Parkour Tag, Sands of Time, and Survival Games. This gives them a score of 17,748 coins, putting them in second over Lime by 73 coins, and versus Green in Dodgeball. But I could do one better if we swap To Get to the Other Side with Parkour Warrior, which will put Cyan in first, ahead of Lime in third. This gives Cyan a lot of high and low placements. Unfortunately for Cyan, however, is that SG is the most benched game and was in MCC 31, making it harder for them, but a similar thing was said about Red 31, and they won, so who knows. The Aqua Axolotls. Aqua's best games are To Get to the Other Side, Meltdown and Sands of Time, with them being the best To Get to the Other Side team in the event. Aqua's worst game is Parkour Warrior, but with how low Parkour Warrior team scoring tends to be, it is most accurate to say Hole in the Wall is their worst game. Aqua's best game order is Ace Race, Parkour Tag, Grid Runners, Rocket Spoof Rush, Battlebox, Sands of Time, Meltdown, and finally To Get to the Other Side, which gives them a score of 17,225 coins. This puts them 168 coins ahead of Orange in second, and finally means that a team's best game order doesn't put Green in Dodgeball. The Blue Bats. Blue's best game is Grid Runners, with them being the best Grid Runners team in the event. Their worst game is Ace Race, but Sky Battle isn't far behind, but keep in mind Wally Bear hasn't played either of those games yet. Blue's best game order is Parkour Tag, Parkour Warrior, Hole in the Wall, Rocket Spoof Rush, Survival Games, Meltdown, Sands of Time, and Grid Runners, and would give Blue a score of 17,506 coins, which would put them 309 coins ahead of second place, Pink. The Purple Pandas. Purple's best game is Hole in the Wall, but as stated earlier, Yellow is better than them. However, with that being said, Purple is the best team at Rocket Spoof Rush in the event, so at least they're winning at that. Purple's worst game is Grid Runners, but other than Grid Runners, this team has no game with an average lower than 945, which is kind of cool. With that being said, however, Purple's best game order is Parkour Warrior, Battlebox, Parkour Tag, Ace Race, To Get to the Other Side, Sky Battle, Rocket Spoof Rush, and finally Hole in the Wall, that would net them first place with a score of 17,233 and put them 478 coins ahead of Line in second. And finally, the Pink Parrots. Pink's best game is Sands of Time, and it's also the only team to not have a game that they're best at in the event. Pink's worst game is Parkour Warrior by over 150, with their second worst being To Get to the Other Side. With that being said, Pink's best game order is Sky Battle, Hole in the Wall, Rocket Spoof Rush, Ace Race, Meltdown, Survival Games, Grid Runners, and finally Sands of Time. This nets them a score of 17,901 coins, but but only leaves them in second behind Orange by 155 coins. By switching up Ace Race and Rocket Speed Rush, Pink is now first by exactly 100 coins, which would be amazing. However, similarly to Orange Juice, I use Gucky's non-cannon scores, which could be inflated, but I think this one will affect the result a little less. However, with that being said, we've now gone through all the teams. If you like this huge new video, well, go and check out Aqua Dragon, because he literally did all the work for it, apart from the lovely editing. And it was a lot of editing. I made a lot of mistakes in the progress of doing this. By Debbie, who, you know, she's my girlfriend, so, you know, you should check her out. Thank you so much for watching. Maybe subscribe to me as well. But as always, peace.